we're coming up on the close of the day, and I just want to share a few of the things that I heard through the day as we're wrapping up. And I think some of the themes have come back again and again around allyship, like seeking the unlikely allies, the people that we can bring on board with personal stories, and also again how we can be allies. And I thought Kimberly called us all out around intersex issues, and I love Matuba's admission that you can learn something and then you can take it on and you can start to integrate it. And I think that is what we all have to do as being allies. I saw some questions in the chat, like how can we talk about economic inclusion that is beyond, we had a conversation today that was quite focused on the World Bank, but of course real economic inclusion for our communities around the world is not just something that involves one institution. It's something that involves many, many institutions, including allyship with trade unions, with feminist movements, with broader movements. And I have to say that I think that the discussions in the chat have been really sort of following along and also living their own lives. So I really want to say thank you to to everyone who was participating today and tuning in and chatting and staying on sort of what would have been certainly way beyond my bedtime in different time zones. I want to say that I really heard what Aisha said, that sometimes it's time for us to stop answering and start asking the questions. And I really like that. It's like, as someone who very much believes in providing the facts and providing the information, and at Outright, we love producing reports. And if something can be said in 140 characters, we're still going to use several pages. And we have a lot of information. But sometimes we also need to be the ones to ask the questions. And I really love that call to all of us. I think there's something we can do with that. I also heard a lot about like how we want to come together and bring allies, but sometimes we also need to separate our issues out. Sometimes we need to talk about the lack of resourcing for LGBTQ movements. Sometimes we need to talk specifically about intersex issues and not mix it up with everything else. Sometimes we need to talk about the specifics of trans issues. Sometimes we need to talk about the specifics of health, of housing, like all of it. And I really like that. And I think that we can do both. We can come together and we can be allies, but we can also look to the specifics. I liked what we heard from the funding panel about we need to bake more pies. Like, I love that. We need to create more resources. And I think that is not something that isn't just about saying to the people on our panel, you go fix more money for our movements. It is about creating the conversations with potential new donors, with additional governments, with all the kinds of different institutions that can be supportive, and creating that idea. And I say that as someone who's been in civil society for a very long time, not just see ourselves as like competing with each other, but just looking and being creative about like how can we bring additional funding on board. My colleagues asked me to make sure I had a call to action as I was wrapping up today. And as I was thinking about it, it's like, okay, we have heard a lot of call to actions from a lot of different people today. And yet I know that everyone in this room is already very busy. So I was like, how do I balance this? How do I say something that's manageable, given that, I mean, I know a lot of you in this room, so I know that you're busy. I know you're already working on these issues. I know, and I truly, really appreciate that you've been tuning in and you've been here to learn and to listen to create more of these partnerships and more of these discussions. So I actually thought I would make an ask that was very simple, and that is, I have had conversations in every break with people who are like, "Wow, this is amazing. I really appreciate the discussions. I really appreciate what I'm learning." And actually, everything this from today has been recorded. So you will all get, whether you are here in the room or virtually joining us, you will be getting follow-up emails. You will get the links to all of this amazing content. And so I want to ask you to help us share it out so that more people can participate and pick up on all the discussions that we had, so that we can just keep it going. Because OutSummit is a day. And, we have 364 other days when we're doing this work, and where we need to be inspired by each other and learn from all the different examples from around the world, some of which we heard of today. And of course, I know there's been a lot of discussions both in the chat and in the room. So that is my only call to action, because I want to be nice to you today. And I have to say, the space that we've been in, if you've been here in person, or the opportunity to really to watch and see online, wouldn't have been possible without the amazing partnership with JPMorgan Chase. So I actually, yes. And there's been a whole team from JPMorgan Chase that have been supporting us and helping us. But I want to give the space now to Brad Baumoel, who is the head. I have to look at the title there. It's like, Brad, you can start walking here. I'm gonna find this title by the time you get here. That's like this giving up. I mean, I already said before that I'm completely dependent on my phone, and so giving up on that paper, it would have been so practical to have that printed right now. Brad, what is your title?
Thank you. Well, first of all, hi. Hi, everybody. I am Brad Baumoel. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the global head of LGBTQ plus affairs at JPMorgan Chase, which is so cool. Some days I wake up and think I'm still dreaming. I loved the last section, last question. It dovetails so nicely to some of my remarks as I close this down and open up for drinks. It's almost as if we just wrote this, as well as, Maria, your kind of ending commentary. So I remember the last time I changed my mind on something. So thank you for that question, by the way. It was just last year, so it doesn't happen often, where I accepted the word queer, which for me growing up was a derogatory, it was a very bad word. Not only have I accepted it, but I use it as a lead. So I added it to the title of my office, and now when I talk about our community, I often lead with queer. So it is possible to change hearts and minds. Speaking from an old dog, I learned a new trick. So thank you all for being here today. I'm so excited that we were able to do this for Outright International, one of our greatest partners. I have gotten a ton of feedback that today was so good. So I hope everybody in the room feels like it was rewarding, it was insightful, you liked our space a bit, and you're now more excited and energized for the work to come. So over the past year, we've seen a lot of really positive progress on the fight for LGBTQ plus rights around the world. I see Jessica in the room, and she will remind me that a lot of great stuff is happening. However, we're also acutely aware that we have persistent and often escalating challenges that we face, and the next year is going to be super tough around the world for so many of us, starting in Argentina a couple of weeks ago. But hopefully we will persevere, as we always do, and not lose momentum. When we come together as a community and share our stories and our insights, and we exchange ideas, we actually can create transformational solutions to the problems that exist in the world. And part of that is by bringing people with us. So we can change the world for the better. It's just not going to be overnight, but we can't give up. We've got to double down. At JPMorgan Chase, we made LGBTQ plus equity and inclusion a full-time, 365 a day a year job for a global team of people. And we are the only company anywhere to have done that. And I've seen in the 2.5 years I've been in this role, and I've been at JPMorgan Chase for 30 years, how much my team and I have gotten done on a full-time basis versus the fingers and toes I used to contribute to the organization as a volunteer. And so we need more of this. So we've seen remarkable progress within JPMorgan Chase because of the setup of the office. So we've grown our business resource group membership to nearly 40,000 members globally in almost 40 countries around the world. And I have conversations with people in places where LGBTQ plus is still not good. And I help them. We've dug in and helped LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs. We've looked at consumers who need our financial knowledge, especially the most marginalized, and we're teaching them what banking means, how to establish credit. And we're investing deeply in communities around the world with nonprofit partnerships. And there's a lot of great stuff we're doing that is uplifting the community, and we're not doing it alone by any means. There are others, but I need more others to do more like we're doing. We're looking broadly at the community, youth, elder, workplace, health, and everybody needs to dig in with us so we can help all of you as you're trying to change things in legislatures around the world. So the reality is none of us can do this work alone. None of us, whether we're in the private sector, the public sector, we have to be together. And it's not just going to be that progress is measured by corporate policy changes. Okay, yes, I have the best benefits on the planet. It's not that. Or by legislative victories. And there will be a few. There aren't enough, but there will be a few. There will continue to be a few. It's also about changing hearts and minds. This is the part that dovetails really nicely to the last question. We have that power. We have the power to engage people in conversation, to challenge preconceptions, to foster empathy, and to build what I like to call active allyship. And Maria was just talking about this. We've done a ton of work at JPMorgan Chase about what that means. I don't want allies to sign up. I want allies to learn how they too can speak for us, in front of us, with us. And those allies are advocating allies, and we need that more than ever because alone we will never be enough. Our responsibility extends way beyond the workplace and the boardroom and into the communities that we serve. Through philanthropic efforts and community engagement, we are striving really hard to make a meaningful impact around the world, but it's just not enough. So to do that, we all need to lock arms. And this is public to private sector. And we all need to fight harder. And I think Maria just said it, we're all fighting hard to begin with, but that's not enough. We need to fight harder. And it's going to be tough over the next 18 months. This is why I'm partners with folks like Maria and Outright International, because of the voice that this community brings to the world, which will be amplified with corporate partnerships and the work that we're doing in communities. Together, we can amplify voices, change norms, and foster a world where everyone can live authentically without discrimination or persecution. This is my dream. And thrive equitably across all of the underrepresented groups. So this OutSummit serves as a reminder. Our journey is a collective one. The power of unity and solidarity cannot be overstated. Every single person in this room will contribute to the good things that are going to happen in the year to come and the great things that are going to happen after that. So as we leave this summit, let's continue using our voices for those who cannot speak. And there are plenty of them. Let's continue to challenge discrimination wherever it exists, inside the workspace and out. Let's continue to do good because the world needs it. So our work is far from over, but with the passion I've seen in this room and that I know that exists in communities across the world, we will make it happen. I'm confident we'll break barriers and create meaningful change that lasts. So thank you again for coming today. And I hope you have a great evening and a holiday season. And hopefully I'll get to talk to many of you over drinks tonight, which are gonna happen right out here. I know I'm the last thing between you and them. I'll turn it back to Maria. Thank you.